Pre-order The Dream Warrior at harmansmithbooks.com today. So, right now, we're seeing Twitter scope and seethe about the situation regarding the Pokemon Bank. Because, as you know, Pokemon is one of these, like, clickbaity brands that people who don't know anything about the brand complain about incessantly in the hope of getting views. Right, you got Gandalf the Gay came out and complained about this. I'm sure there's like a lot of other people I could name. I saw that Nintendo formally, the Pokemon Company I should say, formally came out and confirmed that the Pokemon Bank would be shutting down on February 27th, 2027. Right? The Pokemon Bank, an application that was replaced years ago, I believe 10 years ago. It's been a long while since the Pokemon Bank was replaced. By the way, if you're not aware, the Pokemon Bank was designed for the 3DS series of games, and Pokemon Home is the modern version that's supposed to just be carry on across all console generations, right? So we did not have to replace Pokemon Home going from Switch 1 to Switch 2. So, basically, what has happened is that Nintendo is shutting down an old service that nobody uses anymore, that the general player base has moved on to from a long time ago, right? They've moved all their Pokemon over. There's no reason to keep using Pokemon Bank. There's no benefit to using it over Pokemon Home, which is what you use with modern Pokemon games. But, the giant cope right now among, these posers is this idea that Nintendo's taking away the Pokemon Bank from you, and that you're gonna lose all this content and lose all this stuff, lose all your shiny Pokemon that you spent years grinding, and that's just obviously not the case. If you know the first thing about this, okay, this is a very good example of what I mean when I say that the people who complain about Pokemon don't know what they're talking about, because Pokemon Bank was replaced a long time ago, and everybody had plenty of time to move all of their Pokemon over to Pokemon Home, right? Again, you have the replacement service, you have the ability to move Pokemon to from the bank to home, before the shutdown. They're just giving you a heads up before it actually happens. The idea that there are people who want to keep using Pokemon Bank instead of moving over to Pokemon Home is just ludicrous. Pokemon Home, the one that's compatible with new Pokemon games, the ones that will allow you to use Pokemon, your old Pokemon in newer games. The idea that anybody would prefer to continue using Bank over Home is just laughably stupid, and I think is something that we really do absolutely have to address and call out. The simple fact of the matter is, this does not make any sense, at all. This is just people complaining for the sake of complaining, right? The idea that Pokemon are going to become useless because they're going to be stuck on old games. Have you not seen what's been happening with Fire Red and Leaf Green? Have you not seen that they're re-releasing old games now that have home compatibility, right? Have you not been paying attention to how all this is working out? Have you not seen what's going on? Do you not know? Were you not paying attention? The reality is, if you have decades-old Pokemon in Pokemon Bank, you can just move them over to Pokemon Home. If you want to use Pokemon from older games going forward, you just have to buy the games in as they get re-released on Switch, and of course we already have Let's Go, we have Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, we have we're getting Fire, we got Fire Red and Leaf Green this year. I think we're getting Ruby and Sapphire soon. You have pretty much every Pokemon generation represented, throughout all these games. The idea that you'd somehow get sabotaged, or that the Pokemon Company is screwing you over somehow, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you really think about it critically for 2 seconds. The reality is, there is no reason to be upset about a service getting shut down. It's like with the PS3 store thing. Nobody buys games on the PS3 store. Sony knows this. They've looked at the numbers. They know that everyone's moved on. So, why exactly would they keep it up? Why exactly would they allow people to, buy new content on it when, they want to keep promoting their newer content? It doesn't make any sense, essentially. this is something that people really do need to get over, because I keep seeing people complain about this when it comes to digital distribution, like the idea that like, oh man, you're not gonna own your digital products forever. Like, you do realize that, like, you know, growing up with like VHS tapes and DVDs and video games, like there were times when like those things didn't stick around either, right? You know, they get broken or stolen or they just disappear, right? Like I just don't really take anybody who acts like who says they want to own products forever all that seriously, because you just know that plenty of people have bought their favorite movies like several times on like different formats over the years. You know, they subscribe to like streaming services. Like you know that like it's just not really as big of an issue as they're making it out to be. It's just a giant cope, essentially. People just want to complain for the sake of complaining, with no real thought or consideration as to like what is actually happening. What is actually happening is that Pokemon Bank is an old service that is getting retired. It's been replaced a long time ago. There are plenty of alternatives to get your Pokemon onto Pokemon Home and to keep using them indefinitely. And all the copes that we're seeing from people freaking out about this are obviously from people who don't know the first thing about Pokemon at all. Is just the consistent reality of what we've been seeing here. Like, what we're seeing and what we have been seeing over the past, 10 years, I would say, in regards to Pokemon, is just a desperate group of loser influencers desperately trying to destroy the Pokemon brand and desperately trying to grift off of it by weaponizing situations like this. So instead of, acknowledging the reality that this is a perfectly normal progression, that they were very reasonable about this, that they're allowing you to move all your Pokemon that are already in Pokemon Bank to home. Instead, what you're seeing is a bunch of people who want to pretend that there's no possible way that they can get all their Pokemon from the older games onto home before the cutoff date. It just doesn't make any sense. If you think about it for 2 seconds, nothing about that makes any sense whatsoever. And I do think it's something that we do have to address and talk about. The simple reality is that pretty much every controversy we see when it comes to Pokemon is just completely fraudulent. It has no basis in reality at all. It's all just a giant cope. It's all just people just getting angry over Nintendo doing something, okay? It's all just people freaking out over things that don't actually matter that much, right? We've seen this happen several times, but this might be the worst example of it I've seen, because the really obvious observable fact is that no actual fan is upset by this, because any actual fan was aware that the Pokemon Bank would not stick around forever. It would not be an indefinite thing. Home was always meant to be a replacement for Bank. They were very upfront from the beginning, and just the idea that people would indefinitely just stay off of Home and stick with Bank, that was just never going to fly. And I do think people do need to understand this, is that you cannot stay stuck in the past. You're always going to be moving to the future, and there are always going to be new Pokemon games, and you're always going to have to deal with the fact that society is going to move on with or without you.